Hello everyone, welcome to LUKMAAN IAS. In this video lecture series, we are discussing Geography Optional Paper 1 2021 examination, UPSC examination. Question wise discussion we are doing here in different videos. So if you have missed the earlier videos, you can join LUKMAAN IAS channel. So there you will find all the videos that we are uploading on daily basis. Also, before starting with a discussion of this particular question, let me announce that after prelims examination on 18th June, LUKMAAN IAS, we are starting with Geography Optional Test Series. In that test series, there will be total 10 tests, including the mock test in the end. And in that test series, we are focusing more on those topics which students in general find very difficult, like for example, physical geography, paper 1 part. And dedicatedly we have given 2 tests on first 2 chapters, that is geomorphology and climatology. So yes, on the basis of, let's say, trend of UPSC examination, we have also devised the questions. You will also receive the detailed model answers. At the same time, the discussion of these question papers will be also there on timely basis. There will be also one-to-one interaction with the students by myself as a faculty. Okay, yes, let us discuss this question. This question is for 20 marks from Perspectives in Geography, Human Geography part of paper 1, 6th chapter. Why is radicalism is seen as major paradigm shift in geography? First part of the question. Then explain its causes, approaches, criticism. The second part of the question. Okay, so some students find it very difficult to, how to prepare different perspectives, different paradigms in geography. Let me tell you, it is very important part of geography, and many questions will appear in paper 1. So how to study the paradigms and perspective? You should be having the chronological aspect in mind while studying geography, perspectives in geography. Chronology in a sense, how geography as a discipline evolved over the period of time. From ancient times, we can say. Okay, and when we follow this chronology, then only we will understand how different paradigms evolved in the geography and the present status of what is, let's say, postmodern geography that we are having. So you should keep this in mind. Now we are talking specifically of radicalism as one of the important paradigm. Okay, so first part, why is radicalism seen as major paradigm shift in geography? Radicalism, which evolved in 1960s, this particular phase in the geography as a discipline was very unique. In a sense, it tried to completely change the established character of this discipline. The established character, or we can say that geography as a discipline, was spatial science. Okay, spatial science, and this spatial science was expressed through quantitative revolution, second positivism, or we can say that regional geography. So this is how the established, let's say, paradigm at that time was challenged by the some of the geographers, and that's why this field is being called as a radicalist or radicalism. Okay, now why it is, let's say, major paradigm? Because one should understand that during that time there has been many problems associated with this particular geography as a spatial science, or these, we can say, tools, or we can say that the models of geography. The problems were exposed by these radicalists, and then they said that the established society on the basis of capitalist philosophy. Okay, so this capitalist philosophy was criticized by the radicalists. That they said that whatever the problems that society is facing is because of inherent defects in this capitalist model, and they tried to completely change this capitalist society into a different kind of society. Okay, so that's why it is called as major paradigm shift in geography. In first part, for let's say 75 words, you should write like this. In total 250 words. So then in the remaining part, you have to deal with the causes, in the evolution or let's say emergence of this paradigm, then approaches involved in this radical paradigm, and then criticisms associated. So first of all, causes behind the emergence of this particular paradigm. So this particular radicalism paradigm in geography emerged as an opposition, as a criticism to the established paradigm of geography as a spatial science. So this was based on the capitalist philosophy. Okay, and this capitalist philosophy had failed to ensure welfare of all people. It had resulted into many problems, for example, poverty, unemployment, inequality. At the same time, it was associated with other problems, racism, sexism, and we can say that environment degradation. Due to utilitarian kind of philosophy it is following. Exploitation, rampant exploitation of resources was happening. So it was criticized because of this failure that was happening from this philosophy. Second aspect, we should understand the failure of this quantitative revolution and positivism based on this. So geography as a spatial science was criticized for being too rigid, lack of human connect, human or social connect, lack of equality. So all these aspects were we can say being used to criticize this quantitative revolution and positivism at that time. And also let's say domestic issues at that time going on in US, because US was the major, we can say that at that time the Western world having this capitalist philosophy, it was facing lot of domestic issues at that time. For example, Vietnam War was being criticized at that time. So racism was a major concern. Civil War happened in 1960s. Okay, then there was, let's say, high level of inequality, the class division because of capitalist philosophy, and the student unrest. So there was also protest, worker protest in France, Paris. Okay, so all this was nothing but the result of let's say the radicalists said that it is result of capitalist philosophy, or geography as, let's say, spatial science, it failed to address these issues. Okay, so these are the causes, and it originated as, let's say, for exposing the problems of capitalist philosophy, but in the end it leaned very much towards the Marxian ideas or Marxian theory. Okay, so we'll talk about that, but first of all, the approaches involved. So what did radicalists started doing? So in US there was Clark University. Those radicalists or radical geographists, they started writing journals or articles in journals which was released as a special geography let's say journal in Clark University, that was named as, or name of the journal is Antipode. You can write this in your answer. And radicalists wrote different articles on poverty, unemployment, inequality, racism in the society, in this kind of, let's say, so basically it tried to provide the theoretical base for radicalism. Then it also not only highlighted the problem but also sought to prescribe the revolutionary changes to these social problems. Along with that, it has, we can say that, exposed the issues resulting from capitalism, just now we talked about. Then it highlighted the weakness of positivism and quantitative revolution. It also tried to bring cultural revolution. Cultural, in a sense, it also criticized the role of women in the capitalist philosophy or society. It tried to bring gender equality, racial equality, and that's why we are talking about cultural revolution here. Then criticizing ethnocentrism of Europeans. So geography and imperialism, this was, let's say, severely correlated by the radicalism. They said that whatever the imperialism was there by these Western countries, it was because of ethnocentrism by the Europeans. They had some kind of white superiority in their mind, and they exploited their colonies. They subordinated these colonies, and whatever the, let's say, means of production they were there with the, let's say, Europeans, they used all the raw material from these colonies. And this resulted into, we can say, racial divisions. This imperialism is further followed by US indirectly. See, imperialism and colonialism, there is difference. Imperialism can be indirect also, economic imperialism, making any country very much dependent on that country. Okay, that is called as also called as imperialism. Okay, so Vietnam War was criticized as US attempt to create again imperialism in the developing countries. Okay, so you should be aware about all these aspects. What approaches were adopted by the radicalist geographers. Okay, so these were the approaches, but let's we can say that on many fronts radicalists were criticized by other geographers or fields, those who considered, let's say, be it humanist or behavioralist, or we can also say that those considering geography as a spatial science. And what was the criticism? So criticism, you can see the important criticism was that it failed to provide the theoretical base for geography as a discipline. Okay, so weak theoretical base was there. Like for example, if we talk about spatial science, geography as spatial science, it had strong theoretical base. There several geographical models were proposed. Quantitative revolution focused on the empirical studies, and that's why it had strong theoretical base. But the radicalists could not challenge that on the basis of strong theory development. Okay. Second, radicalists were very radical in topics. For example, racism, war, gender equality. These topics were radical at that time. Okay, but not in theory. That means theoretically they could not establish any, we can say, well developed theoretical base. Okay, so topics were radical. So their ideas were radical, simply we can say. But in reality, they could not materialize it on the paper. Then more importance given to time as compared to space. So here one should understand that in geography both are important, time and space. They said that human being at present is the result of history. Okay, so they gave more importance to time, but human is not the passive actor. Rather, human actively involves and changes the history. Okay, so this aspect we should understand here. So human is not passive element here. Rather, human actively changes, we can say, history. Then they are highly lean towards Marxism or Marxist ideas. So here one should understand the later development in 1990s, the fall of Berlin Wall and the, let's say, dissociation of USSR at that time. It had some kind of impact, or we can say that it was felt that whatever the criticism was there by these radicalists, it is not appropriate to implement on the ground. Okay, so it was felt that whatever the criticism that they did for capitalists, it is not correct, because ultimately the capitalist philosophy survived. Ultimately the capitalist philosophy survived. So we can say that to some extent they were extreme, they were rigid in their ideas. Okay, they were revolutionary, but they were extreme and rigid, and they did not provide theoretical base also. Ultimately, in conclusion, we can say that the geography should be not only in quantitative aspect, rather it should be also developed as a qualitative discipline. So the important significance of this radicalism is that there should be the human should be important element in the geography, and human, so the social aspects we can say, or relevance movement जो बाद में हमने देखा है geography में important paradigm बनते हुए, right? So that relevance movement is important input from this radicalist we can say. Okay, so social geography is important contribution we can say of the radicalist in the future. So it helped geography to develop as the wider discipline. ऐसे आप conclude में conclude कर सकते हैं. So it was 20 marker, so it was expected you write 250 to 300 words. So if you have any question, query regarding this let's say concept or theory, you can ask in the comment box. Thank you.